Good Thursday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversations Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Well, we made it over the hump. We're in the home stretch toward the weekend. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up today. We have the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. And today, in an entertainment spotlight, you being part of my conversation with Dr. Jennifer Caudle. Today, we're discussing heart disease and how COVID-19 has amplified the amount of people who aren't getting their health checked like they should. You don't want to miss that. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Thursday headlines. In national news, COVID-19 in Mississippi, tracking cases, death, and latest restrictions. The Mississippi State Department of Health reported a data problem was found on Wednesday's COVID-19 report. Health officials said a corrected update will be available soon. The current numbers on the Mississippi State Department of Health website show there are now 167,926 cases and 4,017 coronavirus-related deaths since the pandemic spread to Mississippi on March the 11th. More than 14.7 million Americans have been infected by the virus, and at least 282,000 have died, according to Johns Hopkins University. In a related story, the Associated Press says only half in U.S. want shots as vaccine nears. As states frantically prepare to begin months of vaccinations that could end the pandemic, a new poll finds only about half of Americans are ready to roll up their sleeves when their turn comes. The survey from the Associated Press, NORC Center for Public Affairs Research, shows about a quarter of U.S. adults aren't sure if they want to get vaccinated against the coronavirus. Roughly another quarter say they won't. Many on the fence have safety concerns and want to watch how the initial rollout fares, skepticism that could hinder the campaign against the scourge that has killed now nearly 290,000 Americans. Experts estimate at least 70% of the U.S. population needs to be vaccinated to achieve herd immunity, or the point at which enough people are protected that the virus can be held in check. Amid a frightening surge in COVID-19 that promises a bleak winter across the country, the challenge for health officials is to figure out what it will take to make people trust the shots that Dr. Anthony Fauci, the top U.S. infectious disease expert, calls the light at the end of the tunnel. Early data suggests the two U.S. frontrunners, one vaccine made by Pfizer and BioNTech, and another by Moderna and the National Institutes of Health, offer strong protection. The Food and Drug Administration is poring over study results to be sure the shots are safe before deciding in the coming days whether to allow mass vaccinations, as Britain began during the Pfizer shots on Tuesday. In more national news, Women's Hall of Fame honors Aretha Franklin, Toni Morrison, and Henrietta Lacks. Queen of Soul Aretha Franklin and Nobel laureate and beloved author Toni Morrison will be inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame today as part of a class of black honorees that also includes Henrietta Lacks, whose cells were widely used in biomedical research. Barbara Hillary, the first black woman to travel to both the North and South Poles, and civil rights activist Barbara Rose Jones Powell, and Mary Church Terrell. The evening ceremony today will be the first in a series of planned virtual inductions meant to correct a lack of diversity among honorees, Hall officials said in a news release. The National Women's Hall of Fame was founded in 1969 in Seneca Falls, the site of the first women's rights convention. In business news, weakness in tech companies leads stocks lower on Wall Street. Stocks closed broadly lower on Wall Street on Wednesday, led by weakness in technology companies. The S&P 500 fell 0.8% on Wednesday, easing the benchmark index below the record high it set a day earlier. Healthcare and communications companies also slipped. Investors have been balancing hopes for approvals and distribution of coronavirus vaccines against a near-term surge in cases and hospitalizations. Investors are still closely watching Washington, where talks are still ongoing on providing more relief to American people and businesses impacted by the pandemic. Congress is still divided over the size and scope of any new package. And finally, in entertainment news, Rashida Jones replaces Phil Griffin as MSNBC president. Phil Griffin is stepping down as a longtime president of MSNBC to be replaced early next year by rising NBC News executive Rashida Jones. Griffin, 64, has worked at NBC News for 35 years and has been president of MSNBC since 2008. With a primetime lineup led by Rachel Maddow, it has become established as the favorite of those wanting news from a liberal perspective. Jones, who has been with NBC for the past 7 years, is currently chief of breaking news and major events at the network. She just led the network's coverage of the 2020 presidential election and the team preparing Kirsten Welker as moderator of the third presidential debate. She's the first black executive to lead one of the major cable networks. Jones takes over on February the 1st. Her media challenge will be leading the network into coverage of the Biden administration. Many in the news industry have feared that the exit of President Donald Trump means the time of high ratings for news networks may be coming to an end. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. Investigate new ideas. Expand your worldview by questioning traditional beliefs. As you become receptive to the wide range of beliefs that exist in our world, you expose yourself to new ideas, thoughts, cultures, and even foods. This provides you with a greater awareness of the world around you. It is this new awareness level that allows you to question your beliefs and values. Even though it may seem like turning away from the traditional is not something you can or want to do, this questioning behavior helps you to progress further on your life journey. When you truly inquire and mix ideas from other worldviews, you can come to a realization of the values, thoughts, or ideas that meet your own needs. Today, investigate new ideas and enjoy the day.
We're featuring part of my conversation with Dr. Jennifer Caudle in an Entertainment Spotlight today, right here on Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Dr. Jennifer Caudle joined me recently on Conversations Live, the radio show, to discuss not only the troubling problem of heart disease in this country, but how COVID-19 is amplifying those who may not be getting their health checked. Here's part of our conversation. Why is there such a prevalence, Dr. Caudle, of high blood pressure, especially among the black community?
That's an excellent question, and you're right. Healthcare disparities do exist. We do know, for example, that African Americans have a higher prevalence of high blood pressure. There are a number of reasons for that, but some of them that come to mind are genetic factors, say a higher sensitivity to salt, but also sometimes African Americans respond differently to antihypertensives than other groups. Either way, we know it's really important to treat blood pressure because uncontrolled blood pressure can lead to things like heart attacks and strokes. That's why a really proactive and comprehensive heart health plan is very important.
As I mentioned, Dr. Caudle, this has been difficult. I know for my mom, I did take her in for one of her appointments this year, but she's been doing a lot of telehealth this year. So a lot of people are not going in for their regular visits. But why is it so important for them to make sure that they are addressing, especially if they do have issues with high blood pressure and heart health? Why is it so important for them not to neglect that?
Yeah, it is very, very important. And I'm actually really excited that you mentioned not only your mother and how you're helping her with her health and you're involved, but also that you mentioned telehealth. Because that is an option for a lot of our patients, and it sort of speaks to this idea that even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, as a family doctor, I want to make sure that my patients and all patients are still getting the medical care that they need. So whether that's, even if it can't be an in-person visit, telehealth is a modality that I'm using that so many doctors across the country are using. But to your point, heart health is so important, and making sure that our blood pressure is controlled and that we're taking care of our heart through our blood pressure is very important. Again, the risk for heart attacks, strokes, and so many other things can be a factor if our blood pressure is not controlled. So this is very important.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll be back with you guys on tomorrow with more news, Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and of course, our Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let's make it a great one.